This is my discussion slash review for Found episode 2, titled Missing While Sinning. And yet again, another home run. Let's talk about it.
I will be the best, headed out for change. I just started on my quest. Yeah, the world will know my name.
Yet again, they hit another home run. Now, the dynamics changed a little bit for me this episode because a lot of stuff kind of took place along with the typical case that was going to pop up this episode. Now, I'm going to read the synopsis and then we'll talk about the episode. The team mobilizes to search for Jenny Cole, a personal escort who disappeared near her apartment, Joanne Reed, which was amazing. Just, they got Joanne Reed to actually be in the show. But anyway, Joanne Reed launches a nationwide search for Sir, and Don makes a breakthrough with Zeke. Now, we see that this episode kind of started off with us seeing Gabby having an interview with Joy and Reed nonetheless, man, which was fantastic. But we see them having an interview, and she's kind of acknowledging Gabby being the hero of the week. And, you know, she kind of broke it down and went into like Gabby's past and her being the hero of the week because she rescued herself and because she's constantly helping find missing people regardless of status, you know, stature in community, all the other stuff that, you know, kind of presents itself in the political aspect of this series thus far that we saw in the pilot, which was great. I thought it was a wonderful introduction. And like I said, they're hitting you with the political stuff, but it's not heavy-handed, and it's not like they're hitting you over the head with it. They're giving you enough breathing room to kind of just take it all in a little bit, because this episode we see that two roommates or two friends or whatever, well, one roommate and one best friend come to Gabby and the team to help them find their roommate slash best friend that went missing right after her birthday party, which is Jenny. Now, diving into that aspect, we see that Jenny is an escort, and we know how the world views sex workers. And the political aspect, yet again, it wasn't heavy-handed. They stated that she was a sex worker, and, you know, some people were fine with it, and then some really didn't like it. And that's pretty much where we're at, and, you know, in our everyday lives and in the real world. Well, it's real world, but you know what I'm saying, not the fictional world of the TV show, but in our actual reality, you know, it's kind of like a toss up in the air. Hey man, you do what you want to do. If you like sex work, fine, do it. If you don't, it ain't got nothing to do with you, you know, until it's like your kids or whatever. And then, you know, hey, that's a discussion that you and your kid got to have. But as for someone else's kid, someone that's grown doing whatever they want to do, if that's what they want to do, let them do that. I mean, you don't have to like it. I'm pretty sure there's something in their life that, in your life, that they don't like about you. So let's be 100%. Let's stop judging people for where they grew up, what they done, how they make a living, or anything like that. That has no bearings on who they are as a person. And that's one reason I really love this show thus far, because Gabby made that statement very clear when she was talking about Jenny in the when they done the interview for them to talk about her being missing. You know, whether, regardless of her lifestyle and whether you agree with it or not, she's still missing, and she's still somebody's child or daughter, take your pick. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, it's just so great, man, because in today's climate, you have to deal with the political stuff. And whenever you're creating any kind of art form, whether it's, you know, me doing YouTube or somebody doing a podcast or them creating a TV show or a movie or a short story or anything, you kind of have to include the stuff that's going on in your surroundings. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a part of who you are, and that's a part of everyday life. So you kind of got to include that. You know what I'm saying? You can't just exclude it. Well, I don't want to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? But we also kind of dove a little bit more into our main cast a little bit this episode as well. We see that Don is married, and we kind of see what his whole ordeal with Zeke was. Now, we see that Don doesn't really click with Zeke on a personal level. He only deals with Zeke because Gabby, you know, forces them to hang out or whatnot or work together. But we learn the short of it that he kind of sees himself when he was in a really bad place, and that's how he kind of sees Zeke as well. You know what I'm saying? So that's why he doesn't really kind of acknowledge Zeke the way that he should. But throughout this episode, with us dealing with the actual case, we see that Don sees Zeke in a different light, and after we found out that Zeke tried to go outside, and he barely made it, and then he kind of got a little nervous and almost fainted, and then he just fell and hit his head on the brick and was passed out. So when Don found him like that, we see that kind of gave him, I don't know, maybe it kind of gave him an inkling, was like, okay, well, now I see where he's coming from, and I can kind of see myself in him just a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But this episode surrounding Jenny, the case this episode was fantastic, the way it equated to Gabby and Sir. Now, we see that every week, I'm assuming that the cases are going to be kind of intertwined with what Gabby had previously went through with Sir, because this case was no different. The whole him doing all this stuff for her. And then I love how everything that happened in the past with Gabby and Sir, where Sir was in charge, now kind of resembles itself again in the present day with Gabby in charge. Like, fantastic. And I just have to say the thing again. A kidnapped victim becomes the kidnapper. Dude, that just flips the script for me, and it works on so many levels. But like I said, we see this episode how there's a lot of parallel going on between Gabby and Sir, and then how it relates to each case each week. Now, Sir didn't want to help Gabby this episode because, he felt that Jenny being a sex worker, I don't know why I'm holding up for air quotes, Jenny being a sex worker, that made her kind of unclean and filthy and everything. But at the end of the day, he also gave Gabby a hint as to who would try to actually be the cyber stalker that would possibly kidnap her after the long of the whole overall story. Because we see that this episode, there was a lot of twists and turns, but like, you really did not see it coming. We all knew the roommate, or the guy that was living with Jenny at the moment, we knew he was the guy that was shifty. There was something about him, man. And the fact that he semi-sold Jenny out for $4,000, for $4,000, sure, he didn't give the stalker the actual location, but you were contemplating it. That's the thing. For $4,000, you sold a friend out that gave you a place to stay. But Jenny is being massively stalked, man. And you kind of think it was because she was a sex worker. But what's crazy is it didn't have anything to do with her sex work. They found all the guys that she visited and had things for and was working with and everything. None of them was the guys that done it. It was a freaking fool at the art gallery that built up this fantasy of her being with Jenny in her mind. And to be fair, that's where a lot of the stalker-ass stuff comes from. They kind of build this whole fantasy up in their mind, thinking that they're meant to be with these people, and that's how things escalate and things become dangerous. But women can do anything in the world they want to, because it was a freaking woman that was stalking Jenny. And oh my gosh, dude, this episode was so great, man. The pilot still hit harder, but this episode was great in a different aspect. Like I said, it was the parallels for me, and we see that in the flashback, Gabby was feeling kind of lonely, and that's the very first introduction into when Sir went and grabbed Lacey. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of leads up to that, and then next week I feel like that's where we're gonna have that whole introduction of when Lacey's first introduced to Gabby. Like, dude, there's so much greatness going on with this, and like I said, each week we're gonna dive a little bit more into the characters and everything, and of course, the whole flashbacks. We're going to see a lot more of that taking place as well. But, for the case, Jenny was found at one of her John's houses. He decided to take her in and help her in her time of need, because she decided to fake her kidnapping so she didn't want to be terrorized and stalked and feel like she didn't have anywhere else to go because of the stalker. But dude, I gotta be 100%. This episode was nice, and in my opinion, I feel like the cop, what was his name? Let me see. I have to pull up his name. Mark. Now, he had his moments, and I do enjoy his character, but he really wasn't relevant this episode. Mark was just more of like an extra and an afterthought in this episode. Not to discredit or take anything away from him. It's just he wasn't as vital in this episode as he was in episode 1. But overall, great episode, man. If I had to rate it, I give it about a 7 out of 10 for this episode. Episode 1 still hit a little harder, but this one was nice, and especially when we see that Joyanne Reed decided to open the hotline for Sir, and you know that's gonna escalate some things because Gabby has Sir kidnapped, but Lacey is still a little terrified because she doesn't know that Gabby has Sir locked in the basement. There's a whole weird ordeal that's going on, but I am excited to check it out each week. This is your boy Dick Incredible. Don't forget to smash the like button so you can't smash any more. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them and subscribe. Peace out.
Cause I've been working a lot, I think I deserve a shot, I think I deserve a spot. Cause it's been years on this path that I walked, and if I keep going, I pray I'll be at the top.